Yo, what's going on, everyone? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan, and today I want to share with you the story of my very first wholesale deal. Now, if you are watching this in real time, I want to wish you a happy holidays. Before we get into the video, I just want to give you some background on my story very quickly. So I'm out here clearly celebrating. That's my little partner in crime. And our background story, we got here to South Florida about 6 years ago. I came here with virtually nothing. I had very little savings, maybe about $600. I had no car, I had no place of my own, I had no job and no job prospects. So very shortly after learning about wholesaling, I was pretty much sold because I knew I had to support this little one and take care of her. So in many respects, Jade is responsible for a lot of the success that I've had. Now, we're actually just coming from her gymnastics class, and one thing I kind of want to stress is I've been able to tell Jade any type of extracurricular activity she wants to have or try, she can do. So we've done the ballet thing, we've done hip hop classes, and we have done jujitsu, but now gymnastics is kind of the hot thing. Now, not only does gymnastics and these classes and extracurriculars cost money, but there's also the time. So her class takes place, the one she wanted to take, at 3:30. Now, if I was working a 9-to-5 job, it'd be very difficult for me to go to that class, if not impossible. Not only that, but I miss out on taking the Snapchats, taking the photos, and having those memories. So I very much have wholesaling to thank for not only the income to do that, but for the freedom in my life. And then on the flip side, I have Jade to thank for getting me into wholesaling. Now, before we get into today's video, just want to preface this just a little bit. Now, this is not something I've really talked about very much on my YouTube channel, and there's kind of a reason for that. Now, making a lot of videos and stuff like that over the past year or so, this is not really a very sexy title. You know, I've seen other YouTube stories where it's like, hey, I did my first deal and I made $19,000, or first deal we made 20K, or whatever it is. Now, I've had students do very well. I've had students who have made 19,000, 20, 30,000. At this time, the students who's made the most on their first deal was actually 55,000. But my deal is not that sexy, and it's not a very cool lead source or anything like that. But I decided to share the story, and spoiler alert, it's actually a very low amount. But the reason I decided to share this story is because I think there's significance and value in just the simplicity of it all. So again, we're going to jump into this video in just a second, but I wanted to make a couple of points before we do that. Now, the first one is that before I talk to you about any type of strategy that I used or any resources, which I didn't have this month, this deal was done completely with no money down. Before all of that comes the decision and the intention. So once I decided on wholesaling, I knew that that was it. I didn't know if it was going to take me a week or if it was going to take me a year, but I just decided no matter what, I am going to do this. This is going to be my ticket out. Now, at the time, I even had a family member who was doing some multi-level marketing stuff, some MLM stuff. And if you know, these guys can be, a little aggressive at times for good reason. I think he was actually doing pretty well, but he would pitch me all the time. And it got to a point where, every time I see him, he'd pitch me. And every time, we get on the phone, it got to a point where I said, hey, no disrespect, anything like that, but check this out. And he would say, hey, it's just small investment. You can get started for only either, I don't even remember the amount, maybe $25 or $100. And I said to him, I said, listen, man, if I only have 5 minutes of free time, I'm putting that 5 minutes into my real estate business. If I only have a penny left to my name, that penny is going to my real estate business. So the first thing I want to stress here, we got some music going on, but the first thing I want to stress really is that you have to make that commitment to yourself. Now, the next thing that I really want to stress is just simplicity. So often, we're always looking for that hack, for that secret, for that, that one strategy, that next lead gen situation. One thing I've been talking about very recently, in other videos and on my blogs, stuff like that, is just picking up the phone. And that's how I did this deal. And as I think back, I'm thinking how many deals I must have missed out just by not picking up the phone, by being too afraid to make a phone call, by not, knowing what I was gonna say and letting fear hold me back, by procrastinating. That was probably one of my biggest ones. Oh yeah, I'll call him tomorrow, and then not making the phone call. Sometimes we get too caught up trying to think of the next best thing, or being overly creative, or what's something no one else is doing, when there really can be very, very simple ways to get these deals done. So you'll see that in the video. Now, the next thing I want to stress is that's this idea of collaboration. I will never look at another wholesaler and see them as competition. I just won't. That doesn't mean I want to work with everyone. There are wholesalers I don't want to work with, and there are wholesalers that don't want to work with me, and that's fine. You don't need to. don't have to, shouldn't want to work with everyone, but there's opportunity there. There are other wholesalers that have deals and inventory, and you can find buyers. There are wholesalers with buyers and no inventory. Sometimes you can play the middleman. Be creative, call people, be ready and willing and able to not only collaborate, but to do the thing other people won't do. Some wholesalers don't want to make those phone calls. Sometimes they don't want to post ads on those free sites. So that's just another thing you can do. And I think the final point I want to stress before I jump into the actual kind of meat and potatoes of this thing is just the momentum that that first deal will give you. Now, even though you might have made the commitment the same way I did when I said, hey, I'm doing this shit no matter what, until you do that first deal, there can always be just a little bit of doubt, you know what I'm saying, until you get that deal done. And I can tell you, man, the amount really doesn't matter. There's just something about that first deal that just brings, it'll always be special. It'll just bring you so much joy, so much fulfillment to know that you did it, that you have this control in your life, that you made it happen, that it's real, you know? For me personally, it was a testament to my faith in God. And also just to see it work. And then, as a little side bonus, all the people that told you it was illegal, that it wouldn't work, that it was a scam, that you were wasting your time, you get to prove them wrong. You get to talk a little bit shit. You get to say, hey, you know what? This thing works. But when you really remove that doubt, it can build so much momentum. And then on the topic of momentum, back to this price, a little spoiler alert here, the amount that I made on my first deal was only $3,000. Now, some of you might be thinking, man, I don't want to get involved for only $3,000. That's not really a lot of money. I mean, actually, for me at the time, it was a good amount of money. And for some of you, it might be. But I think we could agree $3,000 is not really going to change anyone's life. But not only will it bring you that belief and remove that doubt, but it'll bring you some momentum. So what I did with my first $3,000, I actually took some of it and deployed it towards doing a direct mail marketing campaign, which actually brought me my second deal. And then I took the remaining profits from the first deal and the profits from my second deal and used that to pay for my mentor, which, that was a whole nother level of momentum. And that's what really got the ball rolling when I had that guidance to really, start doing deals. So that's just kind of the backdrop I want to give you before we jump into this video here. And then the other thing I really want to encourage you guys is just to not quit. So many people, they just stop way too early. And I actually shared an article in my secret mastermind group with my students recently. If you know me, you know I'm not a big fan of television. I don't have TV in my house. I try to discourage my students from watching television. But, we do have Netflix, mostly for Jade, but I'm a huge Office fan. I think it's the greatest show ever. And I just posted an article by the character Jim, so John Krasinski, in which he shared that he was trying to get into acting, he was waiting tables, he kind of hated it, and he was ready to quit acting 3 weeks before he landed his role in The Office. And from there, I mean, if you don't know, it's just taken off. That's probably the reason he met his wife, has the wife he has, the kids he has. He's been very successful in a lot of movies. He's directing. He did the Jack Ryan thing on Amazon Prime. So the lesson there, guys, and especially for some of my students, you might not be able to see it when you're in it, especially the beginning, especially if you haven't done that first deal. I can see it in a lot of you. Sometimes you really just got to keep that faith, man. So I think the biggest takeaway, I made those couple points before, but it's just, don't quit. Just keep going until. So with that said, we're gonna jump into this video. This is actually an excerpt from a webinar I did some time ago. It's only about 4 or 5 minutes long, but this is from a presentation. Is that my kid rolling around? It's from a presentation I did that's probably like an hour and a half long. So if you want to watch the entire presentation, I'll post a link somewhere around this video, maybe in the description or something like that. You can check it out. I think you'll definitely see some gems in there. But until then, I don't know, just enjoy the video. Definitely check that out if you want to. And again, just please don't quit. All right, so here's the story of my my very first wholesale deal. And if you guys are watching this in real time, I want to wish you happy holidays again. Enjoy, this time of year. I love it. It's always a really great time for me. And have a wonderful, prosperous 2019. And I will talk to you all soon. Me and Jade, we're signing out. Peace. All right. So let's jump into this #1 secret. Here's the myth. You need cash to invest in real estate. And I'll tell you, I hear this all the time. I see it on forums. There are even people who I follow, who I look up to, whose books I read, who are multi-millionaires. As much as I follow their stuff, they're like, there's no such thing as a deal with no money. And the fact is, I've done deals with no money. And I'm not saying a little bit of money. I'm saying zero, nothing. So the best way I can illustrate this to you is to do a case study. So let's go ahead and talk about my first deal. So this is the specific steps that I took to get my first deal. Step one, I signed up for other wholesalers' lists and I looked at their inventory. You can find people on Craigslist. You can just search Google wholesale deals and put in your city name. Find them, sign up for their buyers list as if you were a cash buyer. All wholesalers send out a buyers list. A list of properties when they get their deals to their buyers. So this is a snippet of one of mine. This is kind of what it looks like. And then I just got on the phone and started calling these people. And I was relentless. And I called these wholesalers and I said, look, I got buyers. I didn't really have buyers at the time, but I said, I got buyers. They're interested in the properties you have. Would you mind if I sent them your deals? And if I get it sold, we will split the profit. Now, most of these wholesalers were like, no. Or they just kind of, they kind of didn't pay me much attention. They would say, yeah, whatever. But I was relentless. I didn't let that discourage me. And I was just like, okay. And I just kept calling and asking. And soon I found a wholesaler named Chris. And he was like, yeah, sure. Didn't really, wasn't like super pumped or confident in me or whatever. But he's like, sure, I'll do that for you. So I took his property, a couple of them actually. And I went to Craigslist and Backpage and a couple of these classified sites. And I just started posting this stuff like crazy. I mean, I was posting this stuff like 100 times. I was making variations to the ad, using different pictures. Because wholesalers, for the most part, they either have an established buyers list, like I do, or, I have my VA, she'll go in and she'll make posts on these sites like this, but she's not going crazy and doing this like hundreds of times. And think about it, when you post on these sites, your ad goes soon, within a day or two, to page 2, 3, 4. Think about the last time you Google searched something. How often do you go to like page 4 or 5? So I was just posting this stuff constantly. And I was getting a lot of phone calls. And I remember I was working 60 hours a week at the time. So this was me. I was just taking bathroom breaks. I was running out every 5 minutes to return calls. I would listen to all my voicemails on my lunch break. And I would just call people back and, talk to them. And I would always take their information. That's how I started to build my buyers list early. But soon I found a guy and he was like, yeah, I'll take it. So I went back to Chris. I drew up a joint venture agreement. We closed on the deal. And you saw this earlier. But bang, simple as that, man. This was my first real estate check. Here's the thing you guys got to realize, man. Other wholesalers, and some of this stuff is simple. People will look at me and be like, well, that's cool that you did that, but where's the secret? No secret sauce, especially if you're just getting started, and especially if you don't have money or a lot of resources. Partner with other people. Other wholesalers have buyers. They have inventory. They have connections. Work with them. Make it a win-win situation for them. And this is how you can do your first deal with no money down. So here are some takeaways from this case study. Number one, expect a no. Be persistent. A lot of people, once they get told no or get yelled at the first time, or someone tells them kind of, fuck off or whatever, they quit. So be persistent. If you expect that no in advance, you'll be fine. Demonstrate that you're serious and hustle hard. I mean, look, I get a lot of calls from people and they tell me, hey, Mike, I'll send your properties out. And I'm like, okay. And then I never hear from them again. Be relentless. Nobody's going to be mad if you call them every day. Hey, Mike, you have any more inventory? Can I send it out for you? Hey, can I post this for you? Can I advertise this for you every day? Hey, I sent your property out yesterday. You got another one for me? Be relentless. Be that guy or girl. No excuses. 10x your phone calls. Like I said, call the wholesalers. Keep calling them. Be persistent. Be a pain in someone's ass. That's cool. If you're posting on these classified sites like Craigslist, Backpage, back in the day, eBay Classifieds, post consistently and you want to follow up on all your leads. Make sure you're calling these people back. If you do joint venture deals, make sure you get everything in writing. That's just to protect yourself. And like I said, joint venture, take advantage of other wholesalers' resources in the form of both inventory and buyers. Quick little case study. This is one of my students. This is Eric. He did 2 assignment deals. These are smaller deals, but he did them in the first 59 days. Do a little zoom in here. This first check was $2,500. I believe the second one was either $2,500 or $3,000. So again, I showed you that. And if you're like me, you might be like, hey, theory, case studies, they're cool, but what do I do, man? What do I do? So here's where I'm going to give you those 4 actionable steps, right? The first thing I just want to ask you is, what's your goal? Some people want to quit their job. Some people love their job. They just want a little bit of extra income, maybe every month, every other month. Maybe, I don't know, you want to just take a family vacation. So know where you are. Are you the person that wants to quit your job? Do you want to wholesale full-time? That was me, right? So just know what you want out of this.